back to school time. We are chatting with Jess today from Nurtured first. I know there were a bunch of questions about prepping your kids for school, whether that's preschool, like I'm about to embark on, or if that's elementary school. We are going to chat with Jess all about that. There we go.
Hi, how
How
are
are you?
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk today.
I know,
I
me
just saw your
too.
post. I just saw your post. Are you guys at the beach this week or?
No, we were a couple weeks ago traveling, which I had seen some of your stuff about like summers with kids, the emotions, meltdowns, and traveling across the country is no joke with little kids. So all that
Absolutely,
was
I
really
understand.
yeah, it was helpful. But I'm so like I think this whole thing worked out so perfectly because I'm about to in a couple weeks start preschool with my daughter. There are so many people who are back to school already or who are about to be back to school right after Labor Day. And I
Mhm.
know that you have so much information and such a wealth of knowledge in so many parenting spaces, but specifically what you launched yesterday with all of your toolkits for back to school, which is so helpful as a parent. And I know for parents of all ages, it's so helpful because there's so much, excitement around it, but also anxiety and stress, not only for parents, but
Yeah.
also for kids. So I'm really excited to just dive into that with you.
hmm Yeah, I can't wait to. I love the topic of back to school, like as a therapist, but as a mom who has two daughters also going back to school, like I just know
Yeah.
how emotional it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been really looking forward to this chat. I think it's going to be super helpful.
Awesome. So why don't we just first start with, kind of why you decided to do this toolkit, because obviously it has like a ton of, and we'll link to it so people will be able to see it, but you know, um, it has a ton of different worksheets and different, tips for parents to leave little love notes or just different things that are really going to help kids have secure attachment, which I always hear about with your children, and allowing them to, have all the feels, and also you as a parent, but also giving them comfort. So let's just talk a little bit about what kind of triggered you to create a toolkit like this to begin with.
For sure. Yeah. So to like back it way up, I'm a registered psychotherapist and my specialization is working with kids. So before I even had my own kids, I was working in schools, working with children. So I saw a lot of common themes that come up, like really struggling to be away from their parents, feeling worried at school, dealing with friendship and conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then to take it more recently, I have a daughter going into grade one next year.
Oh my gosh.
So I know, and grade one feels huge. I feel like grade one feels like now you're sitting at a desk and you have
Yeah.
to do work. And she told me yesterday, she's like, "I'll have to do tests, mom. Like, I have to do tests." I'm like, "Yeah, that's big."
Mm-hmm.
So in the spring, her school where she was going to kindergarten sent us a list of all the things that she's going to need for grade one. And as I was reading through the list, it's just like scissors and markers. I was kind of just thinking to myself, like, yes, these are all really important things that we need for school, but like, how are we preparing kids' hearts, of course, as I'm a therapist, and minds to be away from their parents all day and to sit in the classroom and to have friends and who maybe aren't always nice to them and have conflict. And I had this idea of creating a toolkit for parents that they could use before their kids go to school or even while their kids are in school to help prepare their hearts and minds for school and to be away from them. And just it would be kind of like a part of the back to school preparation. And that's where the idea for the toolkit came from. And yeah, from there we started just building out like, well, what do kids need when they're away from their parents? And we came up with ideas like the love notes. So it's just a way to, they're like a Valentine's Day card, but for your child, you can put them in their lunch pail. A little way to bridge the connection so they're not with you, but they still feel connected with you and they still know that you're taking care of them. We put in questions that parents can ask their child's teacher to help them feel connected with them, and just loads of things to really help their heart and their mind be prepared to go back to school.
When it comes to, whether it's grade one or if it's kindergarten or even people starting preschool, you've obviously most of us have spent the summer, the last couple months with our kids every single day and doing different activities and just spending time with them. And then leading up to dropping them off at school, what are those conversations like that we should be having with our kids to not scare them, but just kind of ease into the idea of like that being something that's coming?
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's a few different conversations that we can have with our kids. I think, yeah, trying to make sure that we're coming from a regulated place in the way that we're talking about school, because I know it can lead to a lot of anxiety and even just big emotions for us as parents. Like I was saying, sending your daughter to preschool for the first time, like it's emotional for us too. It's usually the first time we're away from them. So trying to find our calm too and remember that they're safe and everything's good, and they're going to feel safer to go to school when they know that we're regulated and calm. And then I would be prepping them for things like who is going to be their attachment figure, the person that they can turn to and feel safe with when they're not with you. And for the most part, that's going to be their teacher. And I like to find little ways to connect the teacher and the child before they even go to school. So for example, for my daughter's preschool, I emailed the teacher and I just said, hey, I'm curious if you have a picture of yourself that I could show to my daughter before she starts school, and maybe you could tell me a couple things about yourself. Mm-hmm. And her teacher was amazing and great enough to email me back with just a picture of herself and like 3 facts. And so that really gave me a way to kind of prep my daughter and say, this is who's caring for you when I'm not right there. I'm still always caring for you, and direct her towards who's going to be her attachment figure when I'm not there. Because that's the biggest thing for kids to feel safe, is they need to know, who am I turning to when my parent's not right with me.
What is the kind of healthiest way to separate with your kids? I hear so many different people who say, like my mom, for example, who sat in my preschool class for several months before I was ready to actually let her walk out the door. And then, I have a couple of friends who started preschool last year whose kids were kind of like pulled from their arms, hysterically screaming and crying. And that's a totally different method. Is there something, with your background as a child therapist, is there a specific way that you found being better or not as effective when it comes to allowing your child to feel securely attached to you, but also secure being apart from you?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's definitely the 2 methods. There's that I'm going to always stay in your class until you're happy to go, which can actually lead, to months of a parent being in the class and the child feeling like maybe I'm not capable of doing this on my own because my parent always stays with me. Right. But then there's the flip side where we're ripping, like someone's ripping your child out of your arms. It just doesn't feel good for anybody. So what I would say to parents is it's a lot of the work that we do before we're ever in that moment. So I would focus a lot more on your energy, like what I was talking about the teacher, seeing if there's ways that we can bond the child with the teacher, let them know about the teacher before we're in that moment. I would really, what we call at Nurtured First is bridges. So the idea that you're always caring for your child, and all parents know this, we always take care of our kids even when we're not right with them, right? Like the teacher's going to call you, you're going to be there to pick them up right away. And so we want to give our child this message that even when you're not with me, I'm still caring for you. And so that maybe there's a little bridge, a little thing that we can do to help them feel connected with you even when you're apart. So one thing that I love to recommend to parents is drawing a heart maybe on your hand, draw a heart on your daughter's hand, and then giving them the message that, when you miss mommy, I want you to know that I'm still thinking about you. I'm still caring for you. Look at your heart, even touch your heart, and imagine that mommy's touching her heart and we're always connected even when we're apart. Mm-hmm. It sounds really cheesy, but these little things like that, they work so well with our kids. And we can prep them ahead of time by doing these bridges, these connected strategies. Then we can tell them, okay, so when I leave, it's going to be a little bit tricky. It's going to be hard. It's hard to be away from mommy. It's going to be hard for me too. So let's make a plan. And then you make a plan. And the last step of the plan is going to be, I'm going to go. So then maybe you still do leave and they're crying, but you've come up with this plan ahead of time. They know that their teacher is going to comfort them. You're not necessarily staying in the class for a long amount of time, but it really supports that attachment, and you're not just leaving and they don't have an understanding of why that's happening.
That's also, I know you also have different books that you recommend to prep kids for that, and The Kissing Hand is
Mhm.
one of them that,
Yeah.
really has a similar, message of, the hands and drawing on the hands. When it comes to, obviously like talking to our kids, giving our kids a plan, I also am talking to all of my girlfriends and also my mom about like what's my plan, because I feel like it is such, as you were saying, like whatever the grade is of dropping your kid off at school for the first time, or even spending the summer, with your kids and then dropping them off for the first time in several months. It's always an adjustment for parents. Some parents are kind of like, great, like they're back in school and, they're out of my house. And then other parents who are doing it maybe for the first time, um, have are having like a little bit more stress or anxiety around it. I know for me, I think for me especially, like I had my first daughter in COVID, so we've really been together for so much of her, I mean, all of her life, but a lot of time before we were even going out to go get coffee anymore, it was at home together. And so now all of a sudden, like this idea of her being dropped off or me dropping her off and then her being in a place that's not at home is like such a trip to me. And I'm, it comes with mixed emotions. I'm excited for her to experience preschool, and I'm excited for her to be able to make friends and have these things, but also like preparing myself for that moment of dropping her off and her being there and growing up, and just like the emotions that come into your kid growing up. Are there tips that you have for
Yeah.
parents like myself who are like
Oh,
concerned?
yeah. I honestly, I feel myself tearing up just like listening to you describe it, because my second daughter, I think, is the same age as yours, and she's also going to preschool for the first time. She was also born during COVID, so I totally understand how you're feeling. I think a lot of it, there's so many mixed emotions, right? Like we feel the guilt. We're like, oh, should we send them? Like, is it time? Are they
Yeah.
ready? And we feel like maybe some excitement, like, okay, we're gonna have some time back. Like that's exciting. And but yeah, like, are they gonna be okay? Are we gonna be okay? I think a lot of it is really naming those emotions and allowing that for yourself too, and knowing, like, just like your child's gonna have their tears about going, and that's a really important part of their process, it's okay for you to have your tears about them going too. And that might be a really important part of your process. I know for myself, when my oldest went to school for the first time, like something that really helped me is just like journaling out my experience, and trying to process my own emotions. And this is just me and like my process for dealing with things, but trying to journal out, like, how did I feel on my daughter's first day of school, like writing that out, being like, what special things do I want to remember about this time, this really special time that we had together before she went to school, and giving myself time to really feel my own emotions, and not belittling it, because it's a big milestone for us as parents when our kids go to school for the first time, and it can bring up our own worries. And then for me too, like reminding myself, like, I know she's safe. I know she's in a good spot, and I know that this is the next step in her journey that's going to be really important for her. And so trying to just ground myself in those truths as well. But knowing that having our own tears is part of the process, I think, can be helpful for parents too.
Yeah, I mean, I think, someone saying that they feel that way about dropping their kid off at college, it's a very
Oh,
similar,
yeah.
like wave of emotions of like all of a sudden, someone who's home all the time, even though, preschool is obviously nothing like you're dropping your kid off at college. You have a similar like process of, separating yourself from your child, and sometimes for the first time, and sometimes it's farther across the country, whatever it is, but being able to kind of have those tools or be able to name those feelings ahead of time and not be, you know, like brush them under the rug, I think is important. But if you're a parent who's having those feelings, and are you supposed to not have them in front of your child, or what's the best way to kind of not project your feelings onto your child, but also be transparent with your kid?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to like add on my last point really quick, is that it's just an amazing sign of your attachment with your child too, that it's hard for you to be away from them. Like, I think that that's a healthy sign too, right? That we are separating, and that's tricky for us too. I would definitely say that your child, like if we're dysregulated when we're dropping them off, if we're crying and it's a big reaction, it's going to make it harder for them. So I think that there is there is a line, right? Like if we're, and I know like the first day I dropped my daughter off at kindergarten, like I dropped her off, I had tears in my eyes, I walked her to the door and I got back to the car and I just bawled my eyes out. I think that's like a really normal
Yeah.
response. So I think it's okay to say to your child, you know, this is hard for me too. I love spending time with you and I can't wait to see you. I always try and redirect my child to reunion.
Uh-huh.
So instead of focusing so much on the goodbye, it's, I can't wait to see you at the end of the day. When I pick you up, you're going to have the biggest bear hug. I'm going to be thinking about it all day.
Right.
And like, let them know what they can anticipate when you pick them up. And you can say like, this is hard for me too. And like, I'm going to also hold, like I'm touching my hand because I have this like really like faded heart that my daughter drew yesterday on there.
Yeah.
That'd be like, I'm going to hold my heart and I'm going to be thinking about you. And so you can acknowledge that it's hard for both of you. I think that can be really powerful, but I would really try if you can to like to hold those tears for your own time and your own processing with another grown up, just so that that weight isn't on your child too.
I love that tip, and also like the idea of kind of like pulling it together for them when you're dropping them off, or when you know, some schools I know allow a little bit more of like cushion days with staying with your kid before you drop them off and leave them officially for the first time. So when that day finally comes of like, you know, when you actually leave them at the school, what that will feel like, and also having like a game plan for yourself as a parent, I think is really awesome. I want to go to some of the questions that people had submitted asking about. One of them coming off of summer and coming off of, you know, not necessarily being on a school schedule, is the question about how to have smoother mornings and also smoother bedtimes, and adjusting, you know, earlier wake ups versus maybe what some people have been doing this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if possible, I know a lot of people are already back in school and back in routines. This might not apply, but I know for us, we have school starting in 2 weeks. So we're slowly starting to get back into a morning routine, like a little bit earlier wake up. So trying to slowly kind of transition your child into that routine versus like, okay, it's September, whatever, and now you're waking up at 7 a.m. and we're getting ready in the morning really quick. I also recommend to parents trying to build in a bit of buffer time for your child, just imagining for yourself too. Like, I know on mornings when I have something first thing and I have to get up and I'm rushing, like that's just really overwhelming and dysregulating as it is. So if you can give your child a little bit of buffer time just so that they can get out of bed without feeling rushed right away, that can be helpful. A big thing for kids is power struggles in the morning. And I know for myself with my 6-year-old, when I'm just like, okay, get ready, brush your teeth, make your lunch, make sure your backpack's okay, do this, do this, do this. Like she will feel that counter will, like I need to push back because I'm just being told what to do all morning. So something that can help with the counter will or the pushback would be to create the schedule together. And this can be really bonding too. So draw out, or in our toolkit, we have a visual schedule for the morning, but draw out what you're going to do in the morning. First, we're going to brush your teeth, then we're going to do this. And so then when it's time to tell your child what you're going to do next, and same for bedtime, you can just direct them to the visual that's already on the wall and be like, oh, why don't you go check like what's next on our list? Then it's not you telling them what to do all the time, it's them checking their list, seeing what's next. And it gives them a little bit more power and control over their morning, which can really help you with the power struggles too.
When it comes to just challenges in the morning, I know some kids are not morning kids and don't do well with, you know, putting on their clothes and changing out of their pajamas before going downstairs for breakfast. And there is always, you know, especially with toddlers, a little bit of a power struggle or big feelings when it comes to doing something different or changing up a routine. Do you have any tips for parents in those moments where some days are going smoother than others, or some days are a little bit harder than others, what to do in those moments to get your kid off to school, but also being patient?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the balance. That's tricky. I'll give you two things that I really like. One, there's a tip. Just joining their world before you give them a request. So even if it's really simple, like I know my daughter would always get distracted, and that would be like really triggering for me because I'm like, I just asked you to put your shoes on and now you're playing with Barbies. Like, what's going on?
Right.
So just trying to join her world really quickly, like, oh, I see you playing with Barbies. What are you playing? And then she tells me, like, oh, right, okay. I love that we're playing with Barbies. Let's save them here for later, and then let's try and get your shoes on. So just even a quick piece of connection can be really helpful. And then with our younger kids, like your 3-year-old, my 3-year-old, playfulness can be huge, especially just to alleviate the power struggles. I was sharing this on my stories last week. My favorite tip for my 3-year-old is I pretend to be a cat named Meow Meow. And it sounds so silly, but it works like it's magic for her. So she doesn't want to put on her pants. She's very strong-willed. She doesn't want to put on her shirt. So I'll just be like, can Meow Meow put on your shirt? And all of a sudden she'll be like, oh, Meow Meow. And I'll be like, Meow Meow. And then I'll just pretend to be a cat and I'll grab her shirt and be like, Meow Meow. And like pretend to put it on my head or pretend to put it on my arm. And just doing something silly like that can shift a power struggle, boost cooperation, and help you kind of get that good going to get out of the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever it takes, someone said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Parenting is humbling. Sometimes we're a cat.
Yeah, I know. It's so true. And it's also like, I think, my husband's really good at like the playful kind of getting in their energy of trying to get things done and being playful with them. And it does make such a difference when you come at them with this kind of like childlike mentality or kind of energy of getting whatever it is that you need to get done, but doing it in a different way than obviously us as adults would do it. So I like that being a tip. When it comes to kids who maybe have not been left yet by their parents in an activity or at school in a different setting, and maybe they're a little bit more shy or more reserved when it comes to making friends, and also as a parent dropping your maybe more timid or shy child off and wanting to feel like, okay, they're going to make friends without me, or they're going to be able to talk to other kids or talk to teachers or not be left out. Are there tips that you have for parents of more timid or shy children that you would recommend to kind of get their kid prepared for making new friends, or not, or being in a different setting but also being more reserved?
Absolutely. Like one of the first things that I think about for parents is I think we often see shy kids as kids who are maybe not confident, but shy kids actually are often very confident, but they just take a little bit more time to warm up. So I think as parents, like I know my second daughter, she had her first year of preschool last year, and it took her a long time to warm up. And they'd say that she was really quiet at school and stuff like that. And I needed to remember that that doesn't mean that she's having a bad time, or that doesn't mean that she's not able to make friends. It just means that she maybe needs a little bit longer in her classroom to feel comfortable and confident to make friends than my oldest, who's very extroverted and makes friends with everybody that she meets. So I think for parents, just remembering that it's okay for them to take a little bit of time. We don't want to put too much pressure on making friends. That can be harder for them. And then what I love to tell parents is just role playing it out at home. So if there is a scenario that, your child has a really hard time asking if they can play a game, or they have a hard time asking, can we read a book together, or putting themselves in a new situation, when they feel safe to role play that out with you and try out different situations at home, whether that's with dolls or trucks or just you and them role playing it out together, it can be really, really powerful. And I think that that's the best way to start teaching them new ways to communicate with their friends.
I love that. I think that again, like going into this playful energy with kids and kind of doing that role playing with their toys or their dolls or, animals, whatever it is, to be able to have that conversation in a very non-pressure filled way is so great. When it comes to older kids, you said your daughter is about to start first grade. I think every parent or most parents might have this idea of what do you do if your kid comes home and has a conflict with another child, whether that's full bullying that kids have in, higher grades, or if that's just, not kind comments that come even, I'm sure, in preschool.
Yeah.
What are the kind of tips that you have for parents, maybe as any prep work before something like that happens, or if your kid comes home from school and says, this kid said something mean to me, or I feel like this group of kids is leaving me out. If your kid is, I myself, I'll speak for myself, I go into like such a full mama bear mode that I want to be able to have, obviously my kids are young, but I also have a stepchild that's older. My stepson's older. So I always am like, you know, I'm also the oldest in my family. So my younger siblings, if anybody ever is like mean to them, I'm like, to go
Same,
crazy.
same.
So
I'm also the
I,
oldest. I feel that. Yes.
yeah. So being able to have like the tools, no matter what age your child is, for any sort of moment of conflict that they have, not under your supervision, but they come home and kind of give you a debrief of it.
Yes, absolutely. I had a similar situation with my daughter last year. She came off the bus. She was crying. She was saying that girls were running away from her at school and being mean to her. And like the feeling that I had in my body was not my therapist's response, right? It's not how I see kids. My first reaction was like, what? Like, why would someone do that to you? You're perfect. Like, that's awful. And that's in my head, but that's not how I responded. But I think it's really normal for parents that we want to protect our kids. We're
Yeah.
mama bears and papa bears to them. And I know my husband felt the same. But something that really helped us, this is actually a worksheet that I included in the toolkit too, is what can I control in conflict and what can't I control?
Right.
And so this is something that we've worked with her on even before that happened. So if a friend's running away from you or a friend's being mean, like what is in my control? And so for her, we're like, what's in your control is you can tell the friend how you feel. So you could use an I feel statement, like when you run away from me, I feel this. You can tell a teacher what's going on, like that's your safe person when we're not there. So you can tell your teacher what's happening. You can decide, do you still want to try and be friends with this person, or is this someone that maybe you don't want to play with because they're not being really nice to you? So we kind of went through with her when she got home and she was sad, after we of course validated her feelings and told her that makes sense, this is something that would make anyone sad. We kind of came up with what was in her control, and she decided that she wanted to try and tell the friend how she felt. So she told the friend how she felt, and she continued to not be very nice. And so at the end of the day, she decided that she wasn't going to continue to try and make efforts and play with that girl. So I think for our older kids, really focus on like, what is in my control? What can I do? And then what do I maybe need to let go of? Pairing that with like, what does a good friend look like? And I think at the end of the day, this was like a month-long process. My daughter realized that that's not what a good friend looks like. And so maybe that's not who I want to invest my time in. But it gets tricky as our kids get older. And I think it's a really important conversation, because without tools, we do just kind of go into that mama bear mode, and then maybe that doesn't always help either.
Yeah. Is there an age that that's appropriate to start having that conversation? Like what would be considered to be kind of a sweet spot when it comes to conversation around what a good friend is, or, you know, how to have those kinds of conversations with other kids?
Yeah, I think there's two parts. So I think first off, the way that we treat our kids really teaches them what to expect in friendship. So all the research basically shows us is that the way kids attach to us teaches them the way that they're going to attach with their friends later on. So a close attachment with us, of feeling really safe in relationship with their parents, helps them realize what friends they maybe want to hang out with and make them feel equally safe, and what friends they don't. So teaching our kids about friendship, I always say to parents, actually starts from day one. Like the way that we're treating our kids teaches them what to expect in relationships. And that's why I just love the nurtured parenting approach. And then I would say around, I don't know if what they do in the States, I'm in Canada, but we have like JK and SK. So JK starts like ages 4 to 5. I think you can start having conversations about the different friends they have, and how did they make you feel? Oh, okay, I noticed your face when this happened. How did that make you feel? And so you can start helping them understand how people make them feel different ways. And then you can start having conversations about like, okay, good friends, good friends say kind things to each other. Good friends aren't mean behind people's backs.
Mm-hmm.
And even like I would say that to my daughter when in the way she was talking about her friends. I'm like, yeah, you're talking about your friends. You're saying really nice things. That's important because that's how friends talk about each other, even when they're not with each other. And just trying to narrate that out. And then those conversations can get a little bit more robust and complex as they have more friendship struggles or dynamics, and they kind of get into those grades 1, 2, and 3 and up.
Are there certain books, and I know that we're out of time, so I'll wrap it up, but are there certain books, I know that we
Yeah.
talked a little bit about kind of books to read for with your kids ahead of separation, but and we'll make sure to list those, but also are there books that you would recommend that would be kind of prompting conversation or kind of just starting the conversation when it comes to conflict or friendship or kind of working things out for age appropriate ways? Because I find now when I'm reading books with my oldest daughter that she responds so much and also, you know, repeats a lot of the behavior in the books that I'm reading. It's very interesting. So, you know, to be able to have those kind of prompts in books where it's not, you know, directed to them, but something that maybe you'd be reading with your child.
Yeah, we can definitely give you a list. I think I might have a list on my Amazon store. One book that really comes to mind is The Invisible Boy. I'm not sure if you've read that one. I can't remember the author. I wish I could. But that's a really good book, kind of talking about bullying and how friends talk to each other and treat each other and including everyone. I can definitely include a list like after we post this. Perfect. After. But something that parents can do like super easily without even buying a book is just think about stories from your own childhood and try and say that to your kids. So I would always say to my kids like, oh, here's a story about a friend that I was really close with and made me feel really good. And then maybe I'd tell them a story of like, oh, this is a time when I felt kind of icky or yucky in a conversation with a friend and here's what I did. And when we tell stories from our own lives, like I feel like that's one of the most powerful ways for our kids to learn too.
Yeah. No, it definitely.
Trudy Ludwig. There we go. I see someone had the author to the book there. Perfect.
Well, we'll make sure to link that and to have all the information, and also to, of course, link out your amazing toolkit, which I'm really excited to download and to see and use in our own home. So thank you so much for all of this amazing, you know, information and resources with getting kids ready for back to school time and also getting us parents ready, because it's such a, you know, a big moment for so many of us. And thank you for everything. Your account's amazing in general. And obviously with like specific things like back to school, it's incredible, but also just having all these different resources. I love your ones on like how to get certain messages to kids, or when kids are, you know, not having a boundary or not understanding a boundary, like how to have these dialogues with kids in language. It's so helpful. And it's like digestible nuggets of wisdom. So thank you so much for your account and also for just coming on and getting us all ready for school.
Thank you so much, Katherine. This was such an incredible discussion. I'm so glad that we could talk today. And yeah, I just wanted to give a little note about the toolkit. It's launching tonight.
Oh,
so
perfect.
If people are coming back looking to my page, I'll be able to post a link to it tonight, just in case people are wondering where to grab it.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah,
we'll make sure actually then we'll hold our newsletter to send it out when you're ready to put it out, so people are able to get it then.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'll send you a link as soon as it's ready. So that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, congratulations and thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. Can't wait to share it again with all of our followers too.
Me too. Thanks, Jess.